Well, Doge didn't exactly turn out the way Elon Musk wanted, but he may be getting his wish of eliminating the Department of Education. At least it seems that that's the direction in which Secretary Linda McMahon is going. Joining me now is former Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. Great to see you. Thank you for being here, Betsy. It does seem clear. I mean, you really have to be blind to the current test scores to suggest that Department of Education has been this wonderful success in better preparing America's kids for the competitive world we live in. I mean, we've spent $3 trillion since its inception on education, and look at where the standards are now. I mean, we barely have passing grades. Only 31% of grade 4 students can read properly. Only 39% can do math properly. It gets worse for grade 8 as you get older. 30% for reading. Only 28% can pass math tests. I mean, that's deplorable, isn't it?
It is indeed. And it's, since day one of the first Trump administration, shutting the Department of Education down has been a priority. Back then, I actually proposed merging education with labor and said, it's time to work myself out of a job. So it's really exciting to see that groundwork paying off now under Secretary Linda McMahon. And the reality is the Department of Education doesn't do anything to advance students' education. It's been nothing but a political payoff to the school unions in 1979 for supporting Jimmy Carter. And we have, as you said, spent all these trillions of dollars. And not only do we not have anything to show for it, kids are actually doing worse today. And that is because of the top-down approach. It's time to continue to let the states do the things that are best for students, and most importantly, at the local level, down to the parent level, directing where their kids are going to learn best.
And you mentioned the fact that you had actually pioneered the idea of getting other agencies that could do it more efficiently than the way the Department of Education was passed. I mean, if the Congress passes measures suggesting that we need to spend a certain amount of money, you have to, as Director of Secretary of Education, have to spend that money. But you don't necessarily have to do it at the Department of Education. Linda McMahon spoke to that point over the weekend. I just want to play that soundbite and get your reaction. Roll it.
The states will have less requirements because more money in the vision, more money will go in block grants to the states who will just submit a state plan to a particular agency. This will be less bureaucracy. This will be less regulation. This will give states innovation. States will determine when they need to take that money.
And from whom? And it doesn't necessarily have to be the Department of Education. I mean, she has sent some of those grants over to labor, as you suggested, and it's doing quite well there. They're doing their job. Also, the block grants, sometimes the states do a much better job than the bureaucrats in Washington.
That's absolutely right. And we only had to look what happened during the government shutdown, right?
Yes.
Education continued as it should at the state level and the local level. The Department of Education has been nothing but a pass-through, but as a pass-through has continued to add on all kinds of unnecessary and cumbersome and burdensome requirements while sucking up billions and billions of taxpayer dollars in doing so.
And, it does go back to the Carter administration. They're the ones who created it back in the 70s. And the Reagan administration really did some pioneering of their own in trying to get rid of it. They did not succeed. They were spending more money at the end of Reagan's 8 years than they were in the beginning. But I was in there in the very beginning. I was working for Heritage Foundation in 1980. I got access from the Reagan officials to let me in 81 and a couple of years after that to look at some of these grants. They were just as bad as the woke grants that you see these days. They're cut from the same cloth.
Absolutely. I mean, the Department of Education has been nothing but a political outpost for the school unions. And the only thing that will be hurt by turning it over to the states and eliminating the department is that political power on the part of the more broadly the school unions, because that's what they really are. They don't represent teachers. Right. Teachers and students aren't going to lose in this. They're going to win, and they're going to gain more resources.
By the way, there was a takeover of at least the AFT. The NEA has always been firmly on the left, but the AFT was headed by Al Shanker, who I knew and was a relatively moderate to conservative guy. It was when that union was taken over that things turned down. There was a real leftist revolution within the education community, and the Department of Education went right along for the ride. But Betsy DeVos, thanks for the work you did. You did real pioneering work in making the changes that the current secretary is making. Appreciate you being here.